All right, let's turn our attention to South America. Luis Suarez with these comments on Marcelo Bielsa. The pair, of course, worked together at the Copa America, where Uruguay made the semifinals. Quote, "There were situations that occurred at the Copa America that hurt to see. It's going to continue to happen. The players are going to reach a limit and explode. At the Copa America, there were players who told me, Luis, I'll play the Copa America and then I won't play again. That tells you that we're nearing a difficult situation." Suarez would continue. "Then you get over it and you return because you love your country. There were a lot of players who set up a meeting with Bielsa to ask the coach to, at the very least, greet us with a good morning. He wouldn't even say hello." A man who always says hello in the morning, Shaka Hislop. Shaka, how worrisome are these comments from Luis Suarez? Of course, he's no longer with the national team, but this seems pretty damning about Marcelo Bielsa.
Yeah, it's very worrying. And listen, maybe you could take that kind of behavior from Bielsa, the not saying good morning, the kind of hands-off approach and that's putting it as nice as I possibly can, that he employed with Uruguay. Maybe you could take that at a club level. I think the dynamic at the national team level is very different. Because while, we always draw the kind of contrast between club football and international football, and you're only together for a short period of time, 4 or 5 days, and the coaches have to work magic in that 4 or 5 days, you are together 24/7 for those 4 or 5 days. So there is no escape for the players. So to that point, when you're with your club team, you go back home, you can dismiss what happened, on the training ground, if you had an awkward exchange or whatever it may be, and you go back home to your family and you put that behind you. When you're with the national team, that is all you know. That is all you have. So when there's this awkward interaction from the man who's in charge of everything, it makes life very difficult. And if somebody like Luis Suarez, who, given his experience, given the amount of top-level football that he's played, and I've been there, I'm sure Herc will attest, when you get into your 30s and retirement is around the corner, you are willing to accept a little bit more, a little bit more of the weirdness that maybe comes with it than maybe you did when you were 25 and at the peak of your powers. So for Luis Suarez to be saying this about his experience at the end of his career makes it doubly damning, in my opinion. And that is a huge, huge concern for, let's face it, still one of the most talented teams in South American and world football.
Herc, Fede Valverde was asked about it. He said, a lot of what Luis Suarez says is right. We should have kept it in-house, but it seems like there are other guys within the Uruguay pool that agree with this. How big an issue is this? I mean, for my money, I picked them to win the Copa America this past summer. They finished third. I thought they played well. They're a team that I would have said going into 2026, okay, this is a team that could make a run. Now I'm not so sure. You think this could kind of change what we think of Uruguay come the World Cup?
Absolutely. I think it's already changed Uruguay. Forget what we think about it. Forget what Herculez Gomez, Chaka Hislop, Sebastian Salazar think about Uruguay. The dynamic has changed. That's forever going to be different. If Marcelo Bielsa ends up sticking around. Now, Shaq, you know about the codes of football. You know about these famous codes. Things that are adequate that you can say that you don't talk about. Luis Suarez is smart enough, experienced enough to not go out of bounds with these codes, to not put his teammates in a compromising situation or position. He pretty much unclipped the grenade with his mouth, chucked it behind him, and walked away. Leads me to believe, by the way Fede Valverde came out and said what he said, and other footballers in or around that program, that this was premeditated, that there was an okay about Luis Suarez throwing that grenade and walking away. There's a reason they say it's a loco Bielsa. Okay, there's a reason he's a loco, and there's a reason why he was at Leeds and he was at other clubs. The day-to-day would be physically and emotionally grating. He is a coach, a fantastic coach, and he's done some amazing things especially with this Uruguay team. I will remind people of where Uruguay was before Bielsa. Their last major trophy was 2011, Copa America. The last time they did anything of worth was them coming back in the second round of World Cup qualifying and qualifying for the World Cup, which they were humiliating in. This last World Cup with Diego Alonso in Qatar. This team finally has done something of worth, and they go about it in a way that's exciting for fans. They beat Argentina in Argentina. They were flying in World Cup qualifying and placed in Copa America. If that is not worth having a coach like a coach like Marcelo Bielsa to these players, there has to be a damn good reason for it. So I think the damage is done. I think Luis Suarez and these players knew what would happen once Luis threw that grenade, unleashed that bomb, and now let the dust settle and let's see how we can get Marcelo Bielsa out of here. But he gone.